Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Do you ever wonder how you can make double crown panels, nice curved edges and rolls like that with simple tools? You can make all that with a planishing hammer or an English wheel, that type of thing. But I'm going to show you now how I made this with simple tools that you got lying around your shop. Stick around. Okay, let's get started here. What we have here is a 49 Chev. It's been fully customized. It's chopped. Has a whole bunch of wheel opening work done on it. Hood is pie cut. The back end of it is all done. There's a bunch of work done to it. Just a quick walk through to see what I got done. Door handles are shaved. The hood is done. It's got, it's hard to see it there. It's got a Buick grill in it. I may have to do some work with that. It's got 56 Chevy taillights in it. Or headlights, sorry, 56 headlights. And I think these are Ford, 55 Ford or something like that. I think they are wheel openings. Now, a lot of this work has been done on this car. The car was purchased down south. And for you who don't know what I mean by down south, I live in Newfoundland, Canada. And anything when they say down south is in the US. Okay? I'm not quite sure where it come from. But the owner of it purchased it at a car show down south. And basically brought it to a shop to have some work done on it and wasn't happy with the work, this stuff here, and decided to bring it home to get the car done, and contacted me about it. Wants me to tidy up some work on it and fix up some of the stuff. And what I'm repairing here now, to concentrate on now, is this back section here. This quarter section here, he wants it lowered, okay? He understands it's going to be hard to get the rear wheels off it, but he's not concerned about it. But he only wants a little small opening here in the back of it. So all this got to be lowered down about 4 inches. He don't like this big large wheel arch in the back of it. Not going to put skirts on it because of the lip on it, okay? Also, this taillight section, these I think are out of a Harley Davidson, I think, and they're even odd. They're not even the same taillight. Put in the back of it, and it's very crude what they got done here to the back end of it. I'm replacing all that. The back end of the car here does not flow nice. It just goes straight down. It should flow more. If you look at my car, where the back end of it flows, it's got a flow to the back of it. See the way that flows there? It's a funny story behind this. The funniest thing about this car, the owner of this one saw this car when I was building it. And when he eyed this car down in the States, he sent me pictures on it and said, look what I bought. Because he bought this because of that. But anyway, what I'm going to do here now is I got to cut these quarter panels off it, okay? There is a mess to this quarter panel. You can see the warpage here. That's all in there. It's hard to see, but it's in, okay? But, and I got to remake a quarter panel section here. I got to redo all this taillight section back here, and I'm going to redo these end panels. So what I'm concentrating right now on this car is the 2 quarter panels, because the other one's the same way. All right. They grinded that one off, but I got to lower that one as well. And I got to repair all this section back here and work on the taillights. Now, the interesting thing about taillights are, this is what we have to replace them with. We have a set of 58 Corvette taillights that I'm going to incorporate into the back of the car. Very different. I haven't seen too many of them in these fleet lines. I don't know how far I'm going to get with this one, but what I'm going to concentrate on now is getting this cleaved off and get this quarter panel made and get some work done on it so I can get this lowered down and get the wheel opening where he wants to have it. What I'm going to do here now, I'm going to clean up the garage, set this up in the shop here. I'm going to put the wagon up outdoors. It's a nice day out today. So I'm going to get everything set up here and get started. Okay, I got her up on stands. I got her a bit higher in the back because I wants to be able to work on this area here. I got 4 stands on it. This car is on air ride and it leaks down. It's only just jerry-rigged up with an air valve on the back of it and it leaks down. So I've got the stands underneath the chassis so it'll always stay the same. I'm just sizing this up here now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and leave most of this alone. They got conduit welded along the rockers on this here. Decent job done on it. and it comes up and wraps around. I'm going to cut it off where it's clean and cut it up this way, and then cut this whole section right out of the car here. I'm going to cut all this out of it, right along here, down through here. You can see what I was up against. Look, this is, right. And a lovely job around here. Want to point one more thing out before I get started cutting it up. Anytime you come across work like this here and you want to start from scratch and you're wondering where I should cut it, I can tell you right off the bat now, your best bet is to come up probably an inch above what's welded in and just chop everything right off. Because the problem you're going to run into, in the case of this one here, when they welded this here, this has worked really bad along here. Now I'm hoping when I cut it, that is going to relieve it and the warpage will go out of here, because I'm figuring it's pulled tight here on the welds. Back here it's really, really bad. The way they got it all done, this is in here, and everything is all done at that. So when I'm going to cut it off, you can see what I see there is all red. I'm going to cut everything along there and take everything all that's rusty and the black metal all off it and go from there. That came off with ease. Up here now, everything up here now is after returning. It's nice and straight across here now. There's a small dent in it here. Strange for one of these to have a dent in the side of it. Every one of these cars I've ever had work done always had damage here. I don't know why. Sticks out past the side of the car. I wonder how many times you hooked them in the post or something, right? Anyway, back here, the gas tank door was here originally, and when they welded it up, it's still low here. So I'm going to probably end up cleaving this clean right off along there and start from scratch right along there. I'm not going to get into the gas tank door. It's a decent job putting in the cover, and it's pretty good up on the top side here, right? And like, you know, I can get right into cutting the whole quarter panel right off the car. I haven't got quarters for this car, so I got to make panels for this. So now I got to figure everything out. Back here, I left that little bit there. I'm going to trim all that up. I want to keep this because this has got a double crown on it, and I might just trim this up this way here so I can keep the double crown on it. I got to figure out what way I'm going to shape all this down here after the fact, and how I'm going to mount the taillights in it and whatnot. But I cut it away from here. All the back side here has got to be cut clear and reworked, because this here don't look nice at all. The way that just jumps straight down, straight like that. I must have this so that it comes off of this more and flows back this way more. Just a little added touch. Okay, I went ahead and I cleaved off that section there, got that out of my way. Trying to figure out where I'm going to start to. And the problem I'm having here now is that I got to have this section here. I like this here to flow, going through the car and flow around this way here. So what I need to do, I need to build this section here first, all out here, the trunk drop off, which is in behind the quarter panel, and then I'll have something to build to. The problem I got is, where do I start? All I did is I took a piece of steel and I went and cut a bigger piece coming down here, and I'm going to put these bends in it here so I can clamp it to that there. Then I will draw this out on this here, because this here is not a straight bend. This here's got a slow curvature on it going up through it this way here. So I just got to find this distance here is the one I'm trying to figure out, and it's kind of hard to see with not having nothing in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend a piece of steel here now, cut it up and have it so I can bend over in that here, and I put a couple of clecos in it and I'll hold it in place. This is what I come up with. I cut this piece of steel out. It's larger, longer, the whole 9 yards, and I got this marked out here, and I'm just going to cut this here now and have it so I can bend two of these here, and that way I'll have something that I can clamp to. And then what I'll do is I'll come up here, then I can measure down here and figure out, or basically this in here, sorry, I can measure down here and find out where I can start from, and then I can flow this up around this way, whatever way it got to be. So I'm going to go ahead now and get that all cut out. All I'm doing here is I got a clamp to my I-beam just laid on the bench here. I line up 2 points. I got a mark on this side here where I cut with the grinder and a mark on this side here where I cut it in. And I just line up 2 of them and line it up on the edge of the I-beam, and I'm just going to fold it over the edge. Okay, I was playing around with this, moving the wheel wells around and sizing things up, trying to pull the rear end out of the car, dropping it down to take the wheels off the car. Well, I come to realize that there's no way to get the wheel off of this car unless you pull the rear end out of the car. The problem we got is this airbag car, and it doesn't go down far enough for to remove it with a low wheel well like that we want to have on the car. We sat down, I had the owner in here, and we went through a bunch of things. We started discussing what we're going to do. And what we come up with is we're going to put the original wheel well that came on the 49 to 52 Chevys. We're going to put that back into the car. But what we're going to do, we're going to put a skirt on it. Now, if you're familiar with them Chevys, the skirt only goes 3/4 of the way down the wheel well. It doesn't go underneath. So I'm going to incorporate the lower side into this here to match the body line that is started on the car. This section here, I'm going to incorporate this into the bottom of the skirt here. So this will flow to the front wheel well. Okay? And then it'll have the same style things, and then that'll just flow in underneath the car here and flow underneath the car here. And this will be part of the skirt. Okay? That's the only possible way we can do this so we can actually get the wheel off the car. We were trying to do a full flush quarter on it, but it's just a nightmare. You'll never get the wheel off the car, and this will be the very time that you end up getting a flat on the car. So that's that problem solved, okay? Now, I'm not going to be concerned about the wheel well right now. What I need to be concerned about is all this back here, okay? And I had to get a design going on. Now, I come up with this design here because we have the taillights from a 58 Corvette to put in it, okay? So we're going to incorporate these in them this way here so they go to a point on the bottom like this here. What I went and did is I took this piece of metal and I shaped it to this part of the taillight here. Got this flow going on here because this is what I'm concerned about was this. And if you look here now, you'll see that this here flows to the taillight like so. So the whole plan is now as I'm going to mount this taillight like this here on the back side of this here and have it all flow in together. And then it's just going to go down underneath the car and all this will roll in underneath the car this way. That's the whole problem. Now, the thing with it is trying to make a full quarter for this, it's a lot of work to make it in one large section. We're only going doing this with basic tools. I do have an English wheel. I will be using it on the full panel. A lot of the side panels here, I'm going to incorporate it and make the lower roll section, all the lower section of the taillight section first. That'll just come into this, and then I'll make the full quarter separate from that. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, I went ahead and started sizing things up and figuring out a few measurements and drew a line, didn't like it. And now I had this other line that I had to tape on. I got a line marked on that. Now that got a bit of a curvature in it. I'm going to put it into it after the fact. But this point here, back, I'm going to draw a straight line on this here now when I gets it off and bend it because I got to put a bit of curve on the bottom side of it. And I'm going to cut it off straight down here because I don't need all that. The wheel well, I noticed pretty well comes to here. I've been measuring up off the other car. When I measures it up, it comes back to here, so that's plenty. So when I build a new quarter panel section, it'll be out into the wheel lip and I can just chop it off after the fact when I have a bit of excess there, so I can actually work with it, right? So I'm going to go ahead now, take it off, cut this off, mark this along here, cut the excess off the bottom, and then bend that on a 90-degree on the brake. Now I put the bend in it, as you saw there. And what I'm doing now is I want to put a gradual roll going to the back of the car. I didn't want to have this perfectly straight, so I want to put a gradual roll in. All I'm going to do now, as you can see, I got it marked up here before I cleaned it up. And I'm going to take the zip blade down and cut this back till it reaches the uniform section of the roll. And then all I'm going to do then is just trim up this section here, tweak this together here, and weld it along there, just so that I got a very slight roll on the back side of it here. I don't want to have it perfectly straight out to the back, so then this will roll up around the back side of it. So you saw me turn around and split that down there, fold it up, roll it up, re-weld it inside and out and shape it. Then I went and I trimmed up this back here and I went and put holes in it using the hole punch tool. Then I went and played around with this here, seeing how that was going to fit and whatnot, and looked at it all. This is stuck out a bit, I got it tucked in. So I'm happy with that there now. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to weld that on there. I have to build up this section here later on. I got to figure out what I'm going to do back here, but I'm not going to worry about that till I get over here in this section, which I'm not getting into right now. I'm just concentrating on this quarter panel, the outside section here right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld that on there now and get that situated. So I went ahead and I went and spot welded all the spot welds down along there, okay? Then I start playing around with the shapes of everything here now, and I think I have it nailed down. I played around with this here, so this here got a slight roll up as it goes off to the back. It's not straight out the back, and it'll roll up and roll around the corner, and then it'll follow the flow up here. You can see now it dips a bit here, so I'm going to flow it up into here more and just taper it off a bit so I get the proper flow to the taillight. Now that I got my shape figured out here, the way I wanted to keep it, what I went and done, I went and back to the back side of it with just some old scrap, and then I welded along the shape, because this here is wanted to move around, stuff like this. Now it's half secure. All this pieces here is a temporary piece for me to make my shapes from. I'm not leaving this there, and I'm going to use this, when I let this go, then I'll have this to go by on the other side. And I just put scrap on it, just like that there, and welded it on, tack welded it on, so that now this here is holding its shape all the way around, and it's got a shape going down through it. So now I can build up to this, and I'll tack weld to this for the temporary time being till I get my pieces made, and I can cut it all clear and weld it all up. But that's basically the shape now that I got going on, going down across here. So now I can start building the outer perimeter of all that now. Now I got this drawn off up here. I'm just using this as a demonstration to show you, because this is a curved panel that curves this way, plus it also rolls this way. If you can see, you can actually see the way it rolls this way here, and I got the tape put on to show that it's curving this way. Now the problem you got trying to make this piece here, you can make it, not a problem. You can beat this out, you can shape it all up, you can use planishing hammers and English wheels and get it all right nice. You can make this whole quarter panel if you want to. But I'm trying to cut back the time and how I'm going to do this, and trying to do it with simple tools and a simple way of doing it. Now, one way of doing this now is that we have a crown panel that goes from here to here. I've showed this on some small repairs that I've done before, but it's the same process here. If you mark this right through the middle here, okay? If you take that panel and cut that right in half there now, and that will be your join line. You only have a small roll here. You only have a small roll here, and that's where you'll join your join to it. This here is capable of making by hand, and so is this panel here. So that when you join the two of them together, you got yourself a fully rolled panel. This is how I intend to make that rear quarter section. It's a lot of pieces, possibly. I'm going to try to see if I can make it out of as little amount as I can. 10 chances to 1 will be a bottom side and a back side, and I'll join them through the sides like this here, and I'll work the edges. Okay, so here's what we got done so far. I got ahead of myself. I was enjoying myself too much beating on metal. But I got this piece made up here now. If you look down it, you can see there's a crown on it that rolls around the edge there, that comes around, and is also shaped to the buck that I got made. And I'm going to show you now what exactly I did. Okay, this is all I used. I cut out a little round piece of exhaust pipe and just had that out there on the bench. I'll show you what I did there. Of course, my hammer, and an old ball peen hammer, the top off a welding bottle. And I have this old handle, which is one of these. This handle here, see that? And I have one of them left over, and I used that for just getting a nice sharp roll on the edge of it. So here's what I got. This is the piece I made, okay? It's got a slight crown on it, going this way. Plus it's also got a curvature in it this way here. Now, like, granted, we're trying to make this with simple tools. You could use a planishing hammer, you know, an English wheel, all that type of stuff. But I'm trying to see if I can make this stuff with simple tools. All I did is I cut the strip out flat. I laid it over the top of this here, and I just smacked that down into and dented the entire center of the panel, okay? Right down through it. I crowned it up is what I did, right? Much the same as what you do if you had a wooden buck and basically the plastic hammers, and you can actually do the wooden hammers, and you hammer down into the log. Same type process. I'm stretching the center of the metal. That's what I went and did. So I stretched it by driving it down inside the piece of pipe, like so, and I just went along like that. This curled right up. when I done that, right? Because I'm stretching the metal. Then all I did from that is I just went over on top of this here and start working it along this here. And then I went to the other one that's on the bench there. This one here. This one here I had clamped in. I worked it out around that one as well. Okay, done it, hammered it around. I probably, I don't know, 15 minutes and I got this made now. And I'm pleased with where it's gone to, and it's got the shape that it has. So I'm going to go over and install this on it. I'm going to start making this section next. So I went ahead and I cut out a piece. It's 3.5 inches wide and it's 18 inches long, which is the same length as that one here. Now this is where it gets tricky too. Because this crown's this way, you figure you cut another strip out and just cut it straight. The problem with it is this is not a straight line. When you lay this here, along this here now, you can see how much this is off. This is why I cut this so wide. So I got to bring this up to here, is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to mark the back side of it and trim that off so that it's got this crown shape to it going to the back panel. Then I'll roll that edge over onto this one here. Okay, I got the piece all trimmed up. It's close to where I want it to be. Next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to put what they call like tucks into this here. I'm going to stretch this section of metal along this rolled edge. I'm using this size pipe because I want small sections, okay? If you want a larger roll, you use a larger piece of pipe, but a smaller piece of pipe will give you a tighter pull on the metal. So all I'll do now is I'll just go on here, probably about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and I'll just go right along this edge here, and I'll just turn around and start to... All the metal that you'll see used in this project is 18 gauge steel. It was all welded together with a little 110 MIG welder with O23 wire and CO2 gas. See what I got done there now? Just got it rolled around. You see how big this has gone. So stretch it out a bit. Now that I got that stretched out, I may come back to that again later. A few spots there. But now I'm going to start shaping it to the panel, because I got to get this back straight again, right? Now I got top off the bottle. I'm just going to start shaping that to get a uniform shape to it. What you're saying is what you can do with a planishing hammer. Anytime you hit the metal directly on, you're stretching it. That's what I'm trying to do, stretch the center of this. I do got a little small planishing hammer over, but I want to do it this way. It's something I've always wanted to experiment with. I'm using this now just to get a sharper roll on the edge. You see how nice that rolls up that edge, see? It's coming around there. Now what I want to do is this section out here, I want to roll this as well. So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to try to get a bit more crown on this section here so this rolls off better. Same process before with the other piece of pipe, but now I have a larger piece of pipe that I'm going to put in there and I'm going to run that down through there. The purpose of the pipe is that it'll pull farther out instead of on the smaller one, it'll only pull on a small area. With the larger piece of pipe, it'll help pull better. Let me show you again, I can't see where I'm to when I'm on top. That fits over that perfect. Now the shit was up. So I beat on it a few more times and dotted up a few edges and tweaked it a bit so I got to fit nice. I'm happy where that's to there now. And I marked it on this here, panel here, because I got to trim some more of this off. As you can see, I got it marked here now. So I'm going to trim this off, fit this in place, and then I'm going to tack weld it along there. I'm going to do the cotton butt down through there and make 2 of these pieces one. Now I'll just dolly that up a bit better than that there, so I get a nice tight fit, and then I can do the cotton button along that there, and you have a nice little panel. It's a bit of gap, and then I'm just going to hammer two of them together. Get a nice tight fit. Where this is on a crown panel, if you want to, you can just weld all that there, grind that flush, and it should be fine. But I'm going to play around with the cotton bud on this. I'm very pleased with that. When it goes on there, it's not held on with no vice grips, it's just shoved in underneath that there, so it's holding its whole shape. It's just got to come back here a small bit. I'll pull that back when the time comes. But you can see, like, it flows to the panel nice. Right? So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to weld up the outside of this, weld the inside of it, and then I'm going to dress the outside of it. You've seen me do that in a number of videos, so I'm just going to go right ahead now and get all that done. There you have it, all grinded up. Look down across it, you can see the double crown on it. It blows off, crowns this way. Right. Look at it down this way. It's all about welded. You can see we're still welded. I cleaned it up inside as well. Knocked most of the welding off it. But let's put that in place now, see what it looks like. You can look at it, you can see the way it flows down through it. You can stand up here and look down across it. And look at the way the panel crowns off and flows down. It's got a nice style to that. So now what I'm going to work on now is working on getting this corner here figured out. And get something made up for that. And then I'll basically start making this section here. What I'm going to do is make the bottom and this section here all in one. And then I'll make a large panel to go over the works of it. I don't know if I'm going to do the full quarter yet. I might do the quarter in 2 halves. I don't know. I might do it in one big large section yet. But we will see. I can get the outer edge of it all made up anyway. I cut out another piece, 2 inches wide, same weight on the top one. And all I'm going to do is want to shape it here. I removed this section now so it's out of my way. So I haven't got to worry about it. And I marked it just roughly where, not where it ended, but above it. It ended down here. But I want to have a bit of an overlap here, see? So I'll start off by getting the shape that I'm after. There mightn't be really any need of it, because when I start powering, this is going to shape up anyway. Now I went ahead and I shaped it up and I got it fitting pretty good there. You pull back on it, whatever. Now this is out this way too far. All I was after is getting this roll. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this inside section now to move this in to where I want it to be. I'm going to see where the other one comes down and ends here and have it so this here rolls into that one there. And all I'll do is I'll trim this off and move it inboard. You can see here, I went and marked it. That's where it was laying up. Now this has to go in. I measured up this roll here. And this here is only about a ½ inch out from the actual lip. So I got to take about a ½ inch off of this here. So I'm going to creep up on it and cut a ½ inch or so off it. And then start creeping up, moving this into where so this is where I want it to be. So now I got the panel put in place. If you look at it, you can see the crown now rolls down around the back side of it there. So I'm happy with that now, where that's to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start building the outside piece to fit over that there, so that rolls into that there and continues on. So there'll be a large chunk right here that I can actually weld to and eliminate this bottom corner. All I did is I measured the height of it, the width of it, roughly come out to about 4 inches. I cut a piece out 4 inches big. I'm just going to take that now, lay that there, mark it on the back side of this here, so I got that shape, and then I'm going to roll that edge like I did the upper section. Okay, same process as before, roll over the edge, crowned it all out, much the same thing as what I've done with the other panels, and I got it all made up there now. I'm going to fit that there, tack weld that into there, so I'm happy with it. Then I'm going to turn around and do a little cutting butt on that. There is another little panel made. I got to turn around now, do a little cut butt on this here now, weld that inside, grind the rest on the outside, and that'll be my corner piece then, for down the lower side. So now I got that piece laid in place, following the contours. I got it clamped down, and I got the upper piece laid in place where that's got to go, and I got that overlapping. Now what I got to do now is I got to join two of these together. That's the next step. So basically what I'm going to do here first, I'm going to cut a bunch of this off out of the way. I'm going to mark this here, how high it's up going to be. I'm going to trim off much of this now, so that I can get rid of mostly all that, so I can do a cutting board across there. So all I done is I just marked it up here, the end of it, trimmed it off. I got that butt welded in there, or not butt welded, but it's butted in there, because I had to cut it so that it actually both these would line up. And I got this left overlapped out here. So I'm tack weld this on here now, take it off and weld it all up, and then do the cutting butt across there. So I got a nice tidy edge on it. And then you could actually see really starting to take shape there now. And here you have it. All done with basic tools. I'm very pleased with that. That came out really nice. Now, I'm here thinking about it, where the taillight's got to go in it. This has to go, like if you're looking at it from the behind, this has to go wide on the top and then go narrower on the bottom. So what I think I'm going to do next is I got to make this piece later, but I don't know where this piece here is going to be in further or not. So I think what I'm going to do is set this up now so this here is mounted. Maybe I should go up here a bit further with a piece. That's what I should do. I should extend it up here so I can join onto that there, and I can put a cleco there and put a couple of clecos there, and then I can remove that frame section. Because I'm going to make this section here, and then I think what I'm going to do then is I'm going to make the other side, so that I can put two of them side by side and be able to make two of them together and have both of them the same shape. And that way I'll just have to fit it on the other side of the car. Now that I got a buck made and I got this one here made, I can use this one here to make the other side. And it'd be better for me to go make that now, because I'll never be able to make that later. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the other side first, and then I'm going to work on making the taillight section so that the taillight fits in there. And this here is the right width going up through her before I continue on to make any of this down here. But I'm going to make this section here first, I think. Just a quick little look at it. You can see the way it flows up along the side of it. Flows good. And you see the way that it turns in. This is what I want it to do. I want it to flow in, because the way the tail light is narrow, I want it to flow with the tail light. As you can see, all I did is I took a strip, and I turned around and made the strip, and then put a little roll on it, because I want this to come down around this way here, and I want it to slowly contour up to the back side of it. I don't want it to be a sharp turn up. So I basically put a little slight roll on it this way here, and then roll over the edge on it. Then I went ahead and I cut a piece out, and I cut it to the shape of it, like so. And then I roll the edge of it, like I did the same thing before. Going along, and I used the large crown on the top of the bottle to get it started. And then I tighten it up with the handle on the vise. And then I turn around and I basically crowned out the center of it. I'll show you how I done that now in a sec. But now that'll fit right in there. I'm going to go ahead now and take that up on the bench and weld all that together, because I know it's got to be on a 90-degree angle to each other. So I'll get that all made so I can start fitting onto the tail section. Now when you do this here, this panel here will have a tendency to go flat on you this way here. This will flatten right down on you because you're rolling, just pulling from somewhere. So you got to get that crown. All I did was lay it flat on the table, and I just hammered down onto the table. By hammering onto the table, that's like a dolly. I'm stretching that area here, so all I did was that. And all that did is that brought up this section here, tightened it up, and made the panel nice and flat across there. So that way it's got a little slight crown that way, and a little slight crown that way, so that when I mount it on the car, it'll look proper. So I'm going to go ahead now and get two of these welded together, because I know they got to be done on a right angle like so. And I get two of them welded together and cleaned up. So there's the two of them, all welded together. On the inside, I went and welded it, and also grinded it up. I never got carried away with it, like I said, just grinds the head off it. And the outside, then I dressed it right up. But you can see there's a nice little crown on it that way. You look down across it, there's a nice, real nice gradual roll through it all, right? And there's a very slight crown on it there, which I wanted it that way. So I'm going to go ahead now and fit that on the back of it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fit that on. I'm going to tack weld it on a couple of spots up here, remove the panel, and then I'm going to do the cutting bolt down across there and put that piece onto the one that's on the back of the car. Now I got this clamped in place here. This panel is inside the little buck I had made, but this one here overlaps it. I can't put it inside here because it has the lap down here, and the buck goes inside and underneath the this actual panel here. So as you can see here now, I got a large gap in along here that these two panels are not lining up. So what I did is I scribed the line up across here, right, where this sits. What this needs to do is this needs to come down or this needs to go up. But I got this line now to go by, so I'll just move it up along that line. I'll use the guide to that there to get this to fit nicer so that hopefully the angle stays the same. And what I'll do is I'll tack weld it together, I'll remove this off the car, I'll clamp this in place and see where's to. Now if you see the line I got scribed in it, going along that there, get it in a better light. There you go. You see the line I got scribed in that there. I put this on this now. I can put this on this now, line this up with this here so that it goes up and down and it stays parallel to that there. My biggest concern is that I don't turn it like this or turn it like this, because I want this point here to be at a certain point on the bottom of it. So I'm just going to go ahead. I noticed this panel here had to come down, so this is what I'm basing it off of, because of the way I made the buck on the outside of it. It has to come down, and I got this mounted on the bottom, so I'm going to run everything off of this here, so this will come back, this will move down and go around. There's lots of room up here for this to come back, right? So I'm going to go ahead now, tack weld this in place right there, where it needs to be, on that line, and basically do a test fit. And there it is, all welded in. See how it flows to the panel on the bottom side? Around the back now. There's the inside of it. It's all welded up. Don't ever be discouraged by seeing that type of thing. I saw that on coach building. I noticed that a long time ago when I saw some cars being coach built. I noticed the way they were built in sections and welded into the car and then dressed, pick and file and stuff like that. So there's not a thing wrong with it. You got no overlap joints, like to be very little filler involved in this. Now you can take this now, and some of you guys will want me to take this now, finish this with like 100 paper. I'm not going at that, okay? This car has got to be filled. There's a lot of work on it that got to be done, and I'm not getting into on this. Is a decent job done. It's lap welds, but it's fine. And I dare say that'll probably be fiberglass and filled like it would be. It's just that the stuff that I'm installing, I'm going to do it this way, right? So now I went over and I done a quick little test fit on the panel. Like so. I got a test fit up there, and you can see it just barely, a lot goes underneath it, underneath the bottom of the panel there. We're supposed to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop off this piece here now. I'm going to fit that on the car, put it where I want it, and I'm going to put a couple of clecos in it. So there it is, mounted on the car where it's going to go. I've moved it around a bit, played around with it a bit. So I got the nice flow going along here. Goes along here and flows out the back of it, and again, it's got like a downhill slope towards this here. It's not straight back underneath it. It'll kind of like kick up a small bit, and like when you look at it from behind, the way it flows up along the quarter panel there, and it'll flow down around the back of it, and it's got this little slight rolling on the back side of it. Okay. Look at it from this angle here. See? And then that flows down, and then it kind of like it turns in there on the bottom. You can see they're rolling in, right? So I'm pleased with it. So what I'm going to do now is I want to start fitting the tail light into it, but and when I start cutting this up, I'm not going to have nothing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start making all this piece for the other side, a negative or the left side of this here, and get that piece made so that I got it made. So then I can start duplicating. I got to make the inside section then in here. I'm going to make all this up first and get all that done. I'm going to do the quarter panel last. I think I'm going to make the panel here and make the section that goes far as here, and I'm going to make one large strip to go along to there, but no bottom in it. And I'll get that nice and crowned, and I'll probably use an English wheel on that because it's a big panel. I do have an English wheel here. And I'll make the panel there, do crown panel. I'm not going to worry about the wheel opening yet. I'll just get the whole panel made and go from there. So first things first is I got to duplicate this one for the other side. So all I've got done is I got this panel here now. I'm going to use this panel as my buck, and I'm going to make the piece off it. I went and took the piece. You can see it here now. I have a tack welded onto it. This is the way I'm going to build this. I'm going to build this here off of this one. This here will be all cut off later on. But all I'm doing this for is to get the proper shapes and everything to it, and I'll start building on it, one piece at a time, okay? I put this piece on it. I never just welded this flat piece on it. I shaped this as much as I could to the point that I thought I had enough crown and everything on it. Just using these here, right? This here, this here, this hammer, and this hammer. And that's all I used, okay? To get that shape that I wanted. Then I went and welded it onto it, and then looked at it throughout it, just to make sure that I had the same type of crown on the end of it, going up through it. So this will be the other side of it. I got that placed there now. I'm going to work on making this piece here now, and I'll make that piece up, and I'll repeat the same process all the way down around it, and I'll tack weld the outer lip on it, make the inner piece and everything. So when this is done, this should look the same, almost like a motorcycle fender, all the way around. Okay? So you can actually piece it all together one piece at a time. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to just go ahead and make up this piece here and start piecing this all together. Some may ask about why I'm using this and I'm not using a block of wood. You've seen that used over the years. A lot of fellas use blocks of wood. I just look, you know, everything I've ever done, I've done from trial and error and teaching myself and actually from seeing. But like, if you ever put a dent in a car, you know the way the dent pulls down through, it stretches the metal, okay? So, like, I look at the whole point, if I had something behind it, a block of wood or something like that, it's going to be a slower process than if I had some way that I can actually drive the metal down to stretch it, okay? And this is all this is just a simple little way of stretching the metal. So when I hits it in the middle here, the metal will only pull from about out here out to the middle. Same with here, it's only inside this here. That's usually the case of what it's like. If it was a larger piece, it'll pull from all the way on the outside of it. So I'll just use different size pipes so that I can get the area to pull in a smaller area and try to control the damage that I do. You got to beat it all up before you actually make it shape it, right? So I just figured I'd just point that out because somebody may be wondering, I've probably never ever seen it done like this before, and I've never seen it done like it. It's just something I've thought it'd work, and it works. Here's the other one made up against it. And you can look at it and you can see the way it shapes and it comes down and it tapers off. And you can stand it up here and the ends of it look pretty close. This one's a little bit longer. I don't want that. And you look across it, of course, this way here's the same, right? The only thing I got to watch with this now is I got that shape made there and that looks uniform there. The problem with it is it's not going to continue on down through the panel because the panel kind of turns this way on this one here. So this one here has got to turn this way. So this is going to be open up. So I'm going to cut this clear from this now and clean it up on the inside and finish it right off. Then I'll go down and I'll use this as a buck and I'll make up this lower section here. And then I'll turn around and I'll put the two of them together. I'm going to go ahead, trim that off here now and go and make the bottom piece. And there you have it, the second one. Okay, it's a little bit wider here, don't mind that. I got to trim that up when I put the outer quarter skin on it. But the main thing I was after was getting it to roll here the same, okay? Have the same roll here, the same here, the angle's the same here, the whole 9 yards. Now I set this up different ways on the bench. I stood it up like so when I was fitting it together and basically doubled it up, right? This one here is a little bit shorter than this one, but if you remember, this one's overlapping about this much, so I'm not too concerned about it. Same contours down here. Same thing. It's kind of hard to set them up here at one hand. But when you lay two of them next to each other, like so, right, they pretty well flow the same lines, right? See? And that's what I was after. So I got two of them made. Now there is, you know, there may be slight, you know, differences, little small things or something like that, but you've got to realize this is on one side of the car and that's on the other side of the car, and it's very hard to see. Like this is very, very close to the two of these. One thing I'm going to tell you here now when you're doing this stuff here, I repeated everything I did from this one, I repeated on this one here. Anytime you're making two items, and the first one you make, when you start making, you realize, well, you know, I think that, like if you flip these over, you can see the pieces are the same. There's two pieces there, there's two pieces there, there's two pieces there. I made it the same way, the same styling, the whole 9 yards. You might get it in your head and say, well, I think I can make this all in one piece, right? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to change everything, okay? Now, regardless if you think you can make it better, the best thing to do anytime you do any duplicates like this is to repeat the same process that you did on the first one on the second one. Whatever way you made it, make the second one the same way. Regardless if you figure out a way to make it better, because when you make it better, it's not going to be the same. I can guarantee you. I've been there, I've done that, and I've just learned from my mistakes that anytime you got to turn around and make panels, and got to make a second one, just repeat the same process. Don't overthink it. Just go back and repeat everything that you did before. I never got into detail into this one for the simple fact that it's the same thing as what I done on that one. It's just that there was a bit more time involved tweaking both of them, getting this one here on the same angle as this one. I did cut and redo this angle here a couple of times. You can see the join through here. Okay, this join here. I did that a few times because I made this piece and I made this piece, and this piece fit here and this piece fit here. Then all I had to do was fit two of these together and get this proper angle. So it took me a couple of tries. I got it. So as you can see, don't take much in the way of tools to do stuff like this, right? You just got to put some thought into it. And like, you know, you don't need an English wheel. You don't need a planishing hammer. It'd be nice to have it, but if you haven't got it, you can always make do, okay? Now, you can finish this off a lot more than this. A lot of you guys saying I should polish it right out and all that type of stuff. This is not what you call perfectly straight. This is bodywork straight, okay? And like, I'm not getting in spending another 10 hours on this, having this just so perfect and everything. You would need an English wheel to make this all perfect and whatnot if you really want to get into it. I'm finishing this for the point that I can get the work done, okay? And most times the vehicle will have to be filled anyway, and I just think that taking that extra step is just time, and it's already if it's your own, and you want to finish it off. But if someone is charging you and you knows the vehicle's got to be filled, there's no good me spending another 10 hours dressing these so they looks nice, because they're going to have to charge the customer, and the customer's still going to fill it, so it really don't really matter, right? But I'm going to leave this one here because this one's getting long. I have a lot of work to do on this car, okay? And I'm going to take you guys along. And for now, I just wanted to show you guys how you can actually make some simple double crown panels using simple tools. All I used was that hammer. That's all I used to make them two panels, okay? So, you know, that, of course, the MIG welder. Just take your time, make them in pieces. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of coach builders have done cars that way, but you can actually make very complicated curves and shapes. As you can see, the shapes that are in this here, you would never think that you'd be able to make something like that with just basic tools. You think that's like an English wheel, planishing hammer, you need a sandbag, all that type of stuff. I got all that stuff there, and I hardly ever use it. I just make do. I try to do things as basic as I can. So, anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips were good, and until next time.